So somebody in one of my YouTube videos left a random comment just saying, curious, what's your relationship to coffee and caffeine? And I was like, really happy to see that question. I think I was probably drinking a coffee, or it looked like I was drinking a coffee in one of my videos. And so, but I was really happy to have that question because I'm like, wow, I would love to answer that. I have so much to share about that. And so here we are with a little coffee cup with a little bit of maybe coffee inside. Um, so I have long held the belief that when I am drinking caffeine, my productivity is higher. And I've tried times with caffeine and with off caffeine, and I've looked at it. I'm like, just the net is higher. My output is higher when I drink coffee, measurably. I get more done. I'm more productive, like boom, 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 just banging out the tasks. That's one. And the other thing is, I love the taste of coffee. It's just so good. I love all sorts of different ways of producing, not producing coffee, but brewing coffee. I've got pour over, we have an espresso, French press, percolator. Um, I love nice beans and we have a nice grinder. And my friend owns a coffee roasting company. And I love the taste of coffee. I love drinking it. I love going out and getting a coffee to go in the car and driving with that warm cup with a little bit of cream in it. I like all the different types of brewing espresso coffees as well. So I've long had that story, that description of my love for coffee. And I've had the story and the description of that reality that coffee makes me more productive than I am without it. And I have also contended with the reality of how caffeine affects my sleep. And I have found that if I don't drink caffeine or coffee after noon, that I sleep better. And I've kind of gently stayed away from looking at whether or not coffee in the morning on a regular basis affects my sleep at all, because it was like, it was good enough. One of the experts said if I didn't have coffee afternoon, then it wouldn't affect my sleep. But I never really tested the fact of the idea of like no coffee at all. How does that compare? So, and that's a little clue to where I'm at today. So this is the year of slowing down for me. I'd like to get a theme for each year. And I kept it here. My bracelet just says slow down. And so I've been exploring all different ways of slowing down in my physical movement practice by becoming a student of GMB fitness, um, slowing down in my work by doing less as a way of actually creating more impact and getting more done, slowing down in my speaking, which I'm trying to do here and now, slowing down with my wife and kids. In any case, slowing down. One of the things that became clear through some advice from some guys in my men's group, older, wiser brothers of mine, uh, was that maybe one of the things that was having me go fast was drinking coffee and caffeine. And one of the guys said, "Man, you're like antsy. You're just moving around a lot." And my immediate response, my reaction, not like emotionally, but just like my immediate thinking was like, "Oh yeah, I've always been that way." In fact, I've always been the guy that's like bouncing a leg under the table. He's got so much energy. He's like, I'm intense. I've got energy. I have things to do, places to go, people to see. It's just like, that's how it always feels. I have so much excitement and passion for life that it's like, what's next? Let's do this. And so I've got that story that described me. And I think there's truth to that. And yet, that story was an obstacle to me seeing how I can say this now in hindsight, how caffeine has exacerbated that fact and that truth about me. So it's taken something that I am and that is and made it at an even higher level. Um, is that a problem or not? I don't know, but it certainly is antithetical to slowing down. And so, on my brother's suggestion, I took a break from coffee, which is not hard for me to do. Actually, I stopped drinking caffeine in November last year, and I didn't have any caffeine until August this year. But that was just because I like to take breaks from anything that it seems I might be needing, quote unquote, because I don't like to be addicted to it. That's the first thing. So I've taken breaks from coffee and caffeine many times because I like to maintain a relationship to the drink in which I own it, it doesn't own me. Okay. Anytime there's a dependency in there, I don't feel I have autonomy in that place or freedom. And so I want to take a break from it to make sure I'm maintaining that kind of mastery over that aspect of my being. Mastery is not the right word. A healthier relationship. Let's just call it that. Um, But this time I was taking a break from coffee more for dietary reasons. I was trying different diets, experimenting with learning how calories impact my body and fats and carbs and sugar, carbs and proteins. I was experimenting with the keto diet and being in ketosis. And I read a few different places about how having caffeine in your system makes it more challenging to be ketogenic in a very effective way. And so I was trying to maximize my capacity for high intensity output and my fitness, power output, boxing and such, burpees and things like that. But while still being ketogenic, and reducing my caffeine intake was, or making it no caffeine, was just part of my experiment. And that just kind of stuck. And I was like, oh, I'll probably drink coffee again when I go traveling because of jet lag and everything like that. And so I did, had a wonderful time in London drinking beautiful coffee. One of my favorite coffee spots, Monmouth Coffee in London, got to go to. Um, and I love coffee, and it was great. And I came home and I went and met with my brothers in my men's group in Kauai for a few days, and I was still drinking coffee. And that's when this whole conversation came up. And so I took his advice, and it's like, yeah, it's easy for me to, I mean, I can turn it off like that. I'm just drinking it because I enjoy it and I love it. And I think that it's better for me. And why does he think it's better for you? My friend asked. And I said, well, because like my output is categorically higher and greater when I drink coffee. Like I get more, I just get more done. I can stay focused. Like if I was in school nowadays, I'd be instantly prescribed Ritalin or something for like ADHD because my attention and focus is all over the place, and caffeine helps me to like focus it in, right? And so, but he's challenged me. He's like, so what if you are getting a higher quantity of work done when you've got caffeine because you're able to just charge through and go? But what if, and this is perfectly aligned with my whole point for slowing down this year, what if the quality of your work would be higher without caffeine? And you might not have the same quantity, but you'd have a higher quality. And that higher quality meant you could create even more impact than you could with the former greater quantity. And I was like, now you're speaking to my mathematical heart, man. I was turned on by that idea, and by the idea that maybe this aspect of my being that can be antsy and bouncing around high energy is exacerbated, not in a good way, by caffeine. And so I said, you know what, fine, I'm gonna take another break again. I don't know that that's true because never in the past have I noticed that, but I trust you and I'll experiment. And so I stopped drinking coffee again, I don't know, a couple months ago now. And he was right. He was right. And so I haven't had caffeine again. This is like, I don't know, the millionth time I've taken a break from caffeine. So it's not like that's a new thing. But having said that, it's actually the first time that I've noticed these differences. And that's a really important point. It's not the absence of a certain experience or behavior that means you'll notice it. It's also having your attention on that aspect of your experience or behavior and looking for it that is also a big part of whether you notice it or not. So you may go on a certain diet for a certain while and have a change that you don't even notice. You might miss it, right? Something, you might do something different in your life, go different, and things might be different. You don't notice. So it's both things being different and having the attention to look for it. That's why having partnership with people who can point things out to you and we can co-create together is so useful. So by having my attention on it, I saw that, wow, I am not like is sitting in front of my computer, for example, and typing things. I don't have the same kind of like energy where I'm like just turning through tasks and I sit down on my computer, I just write like I'm on fire. But because I'm still and I'm present, I'm able to be still, physically still, sit with my own heart and ask myself what's true and hear that still small voice within in a way where I was not as able before because I was so busy getting on to the next thing. Because caffeine is so good at that. It's so good at getting us to get on to the next thing. And when we do that, we get a lot done. And that productivity is a trap because it has us believe that we're making the most impact because we define more impact as doing more. But doing more is not the same as more impact. More impact is making a bigger difference. That can come through doing less, saying less. And so by slowing my body down, by slowing the internal, by slowing down my sense of time within, that's actually what changes. When I am not having caffeine in my body, it's like time slows down and I can be more present, which means like, so when a person becomes more present, time slows down, just always. And so when I have less caffeine in my body, it's easier for me to be present. So I can be with the time slices. It feels it feels like time is slowing down. That's essentially what it is. The other thing that I noticed is that when I did have coffee one day consciously, like I said, it's not like, oh my God, I went back to the drink and now I'm addicted. It's like I don't really have that relationship with coffee. I know that I can do it and I know that I can stop. But I consciously, intentionally had a coffee one day during this 2 months that I haven't been drinking caffeine. And I did that because I didn't sleep much that night before, and I had a long day with the kids traveling back from Oahu after we were in the Spartan race. So I knew I was going to be with the kids at the airport and on the plane. It's like I have to drive in the car with the kids. I'm already falling asleep here at the pool. So I'm having a coffee. And I did, and it helped me to stay awake. But I also noticed that I was more antsy. And I was like, fuck. I am more of that aspect of who I am when I have caffeine in my body. Not saying it's good, not saying it's bad, not saying it's right, not saying it's wrong, but I am saying that there's something that's true about me that became exacerbated and more true when I had this stuff in my body. And where else is that the case? Where else do I have a story about something that's true, that's also blocking me from seeing how the thing that somebody might be saying or I might be thinking might be creating that behavior? I'm saying, no, that's not the case. It already is. That's just how I am. But actually, if I'm really honest, that behavior in me is way bigger and therefore more of a problem, so to speak, if it is, because of that other thing that I'm pushing away or discounting. No, that's just how I am. No, you probably aren't. If something's problematic, it's probably not just how you are. There's probably something you're doing or being that's exacerbating it, making it bigger, and therefore problematic. So for me, the antsiness can be problematic because it can have me be rushing through things. Also, energetically, like it's hard to be really present with somebody when your body can't be still, right? And when your attention is all over the place. I know it's a bit confusing when I talk about attention. Caffeine allows me to hold my attention in one way when I'm doing output, but if it's other people around and they're talking and I'm listening, me being able to attend to their speaking is actually the opposite. When I have caffeine in my system, it's harder for me to just be present still and listen to somebody than it is when I don't. I can be still and listen a lot easier when I don't have my body kind of vibrating. It's almost like the antsiness is a need to be outwardly expressed, a need to move and do something. And that is useful when it's like if I want a high output of the quantity of content, right? Like as I said earlier, but it's certainly not useful when I'm want to listen to somebody and be present with them and what they're outputting. And the bigger picture point here is that I woke up from this dream that the quantity of my output is the most important thing. And so now, in the absence of caffeine in my system, I can see that my quantity is less measurably. It's not a big difference, but my quality is higher because I'm still and I'm present with my being. And so I'm not drinking caffeine. Will I drink caffeine again in my life? Absolutely. When it's useful to help me to stay awake, because that's more important than not bouncing my leg or whatever. Um, and maybe at other times too, I never put a nail in the coffin of like a certain idea and say like that's it. I'm never doing that again. Um, but probably not most of the time because quality over quantity, because being able to be present and listen to others as well as within, I value more highly than I do the joy of drinking coffee. And as a bonus, the cool thing is they figured out how to extract the caffeine from coffee beans before they sell them to you. Something to do with water, some kind of crazy cool process they do. And so I get to drink decaf. And it's not as good, but it's pretty good. So if you see me drinking a coffee in one of my videos, now you know I'm drinking decaf, probably. But if you see me drinking that coffee and I'm a little bit more wide-eyed and shaky, then maybe there's caffeine in it. So thank you for asking. I know there will be something in this, what I shared today, that will serve you in your life, even outside of the context of coffee. That's why I wanted to share it with you. And yeah, I look forward to meeting you and talking with you soon. Lots of love. Bye for now.